afternoon, everyone. This is Mindy Flanagan, putting on her glasses to hide her wrinkles from Inspiring HR. We are doing an impromptu, sort of, I guess, Uncomplicating HR session today, where myself and Valerie Juarez, as a follow-up to our other HR plus AI video, we thought it would be helpful for those interested in this subject in the HR space to actually watch two 30 years experience of or more HR professionals who have been with Inspiring HR 10 years or more play around with prompting in AI so that you can see from a trained professional's perspective so far the good and perhaps the not so good that is coming out of AI as of late when it comes to seeking HR, people ops, wage and hour, employment law type of information out of AI. For our purposes, we are using ChatGPT, and it's our own paid subscription, so it understands the Inspiring HR workspace, and everything is kept as confidentially and private as it can be in this age of technology. And without further ado, I am going to invite Valerie Juarez to say hello, share her screen, and then we're off to the races. We're going to show you how our ChatGPT works with some of these examples. Go ahead, Val.
Hi, everybody. And yes, we have been playing with it a little bit today, so you'll see, you will see us doing that. One moment.
All right, good. Share your screen. Let's go.
It's coming. All right.
This is when the glasses have to come off, otherwise I can't see the screen.
So we've been playing with just, various prompts within ChatGPT. One of the things that we're always concerned about is where to draw the line on trusting the information that you get. So today we thought we would play with a couple of questions that might be a question that your management or yourself or you may ask ChatGPT while you're trying to deal with things like classifying employees. So we're going to just
go easy on the eyes for old people. Could you go up to the three dots in Google and increase this to like 125?
I'll make you a little bigger. Sure. How about I just give you 100? There we go. Is that a little better for you?
A little better.
Yeah. So I just popped in the question, is an office manager exempt from overtime? And this is a generic question that we often get, and it's a complicated answer, but we're going to see what ChatGPT does for us today.
So is an office manager exempt? Okay, Chat, talk to us. Interesting. So hold on. Let's give everybody context here. You are in Colorado, but we are a Virginia-based company, and Chat knows that, and you didn't specify Virginia, but it's giving you a Virginia answer. Is that correct? Is that what I'm reading here?
Yeah. Here's what's happening today is that I did not start from a brand new chat. Mm-hmm. So ChatGPT does this thing where it'll try to think about what the other questions have been in the same thread of thought that you've had. Mm-hmm. I didn't ask it about California, Virginia, or Colorado, but because it thinks I'm on the same train of thought, it's giving me answers specific to that, which is not what I asked for. So
that's our first learn, everyone. You could be prompting Chat from an existing chain, and the answer in that existing chain might be different than a brand new chat or a brand new prompt, correct?
Yep, okay. Absolutely.
All right, there you go.
So It says, the classic manager title question. I see this one all the time. Well, that's true. We do see that all the time, and so apparently does ChatGPT. It does give us some good information, which is that an office manager just by title is not automatically exempt, and that many office managers are legally non-exempt. And when we talk about exempt and non-exempt for the context of the rest of this conversation, we're talking about who by job duties and salary might be exempt from overtime provisions and other provisions outlined in the Fair Labor Standards Act. So this is an important HR question that we get often because it determines, do you get overtime? Do we track your time on a worksheet? Do you get paid salary? All kinds of good details. We come down and ChatGPT's actually given us a good structure for an answer. It says that there's 3 tests that must be met. Okay. Salary basis. Paid on a salary basis. Generally. Yes. Now, if we have a commissioned employee that might qualify for exemption, that is something actually that deviates from the answer that ChatGPT is giving us. So maybe not a complete answer there. Paid on a salary basis.
But the contrary is rarely do we find office managers receiving commissions.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. And at least 684, 35, 568 a year under federal law. Some states require more. California is much higher. That is true. It's interesting that it pulled out California as an exemption, but did not specify some of the other states that were in that previous conversation that I was asking it about. Let's see what we have here. Administrative.
Can I make a really salesy observation right now? For anybody that thinks AI can do their HR for them, I want everybody to think about what tools they're putting in the hands of the people they're delegating to. You're normally asking somebody not trained in HR to go into AI and find an HR related answer. The difference between what you're willing to read through here versus just picking up the phone and asking the opinion of HR consultant, you might be looking surely at the quickest path to an answer might not be using AI. It could be just calling your HR consultant. Go on, Val.
And asking the question. Yeah, absolutely. So it talks about the primary duties test, which is a really actually important test, and it's the first test that you have to pass. Does the work that I do qualify me from exemption? They're talking about the administrative exemption, which is a common path. It gives us details about what are the types of things that a office manager might be doing that supports the exemption. It talks about some of the things that undermine it. What I am not seeing is any indication that there are other paths to exemption. I'm not seeing anything about the fact sheets themselves, if you're looking for details or you need proof to be able to provide this to a manager. And when I say fact sheets, I mean that the Department of Labor has hundreds of fact sheets that talk about different types of exemptions and the different rules for those exemptions.
Yeah, and they're not long. They're like 1 or 2 pages.
No, they're short briefs. But when you're trying to determine if you are properly classifying somebody as exempt or non-exempt, it's really helpful to have those fact sheets in front of you, especially if you're trying to defend yourself with maybe an audit or an employee, or just trying to make the case to upper management if you're the person that has to make these determinations. Executive exemption, that's a path. Independent judgment, they don't truly
no
manage
one guesses
staff.
at that correctly. Yep.
If most of their time, this is correct, most of their time is clerical or administrative support, usually non-exempt. Reality check.
So you know what I'm seeing from here? Like I think if I was untrained and I started reading through here, I would then, once I saw that executive exemption, I would reprompt it to say, okay, let's try again. Is an office manager who is only supervising one part-time coordinator exempt from overtime? Let's prompt it and see what it says.
Well, before I do that, I want to point something out in this answer here.
Okay.
Because we were in that train of thought of Virginia, North Carolina, and Colorado that it's sticking to. I didn't ask it, but it's sticking to it. It's telling me that California is much stricter and that over 50% of the time must be exempt duties plus a higher salary threshold.
Something
what
in the
it's
70s
not
right now.
telling me right here is that Colorado also has a higher salary threshold.
And right here it's saying Colorado follows federal, which you're saying is not correct.
Correct. Colorado's exemption is 57.7 and some change. I don't have it memorized today. It is a higher exemption that increases based on the cost of goods sold, or excuse me, the GDP every year. They do an analysis, they increase minimum wage, and they increase the salary exemptions. So right here, I've got an answer that if I was just sticking to this and didn't do any further research on Colorado, I could be violating the classification for exemption if I had somebody I was paying $38,000 to and met all the duties, but was only paying $38,000 to in Colorado.
And we are on the most current paid version of chat, and it's still getting it wrong. So
right. And I have a theory as to why this is happening. So ChatGPT tends to, or any of the AI systems, they scrape the internet for information, right? There hasn't been a new blog talking, or there haven't been many new official postings out on the internet about how Colorado's exemption has increased as if it was a new law. Because this is slated in for the state to just be assessed every year and it just happens every year, maybe you might get a legal blog or whatnot that reminds you that the exemption's going up. But it's not like Colorado has announced that they have a new law that's increased the exempt salaries. So ChatGPT either didn't pull anything recent or isn't seeing anything official from the state that's prompting it to think that the salary's higher. It's just happening. And if you go into the government pages for Colorado, you're going to see that the wage is there. But ChatGPT isn't doing that research for you. So a little bit of problem. Now, you asked me to prompt something in here.
Well, we could, and I don't want to bore our viewers, and I want to be mindful of time. Let me ask you a question. Before we drill down further on this, the other thing that we could do for the benefit of showing everybody what chat does and where a discerning HRI might be helpful is we could move away from labor law compliance, which HR is always accused of being hyper-focused on, and move over to like a policy prompt. Like, for instance, before you type this in as possibly a new chat, let me ask you. There's a certain HR done differently flavor of HR that comes out of Mindy, particularly when I'm feeling spunky like I am right now. I'm just fresh off a networking meeting where everyone said, should I be doing exit interviews? Now, for anybody that knows me, it's no secret that I think exit interviews should die, go away, and are a complete waste of time. But I'm wondering what chat would say to say a controller or an office manager at a company where the business owner says, I think we should be doing exit interviews, and they've never been trained a day in their life in HR, and they think, I don't even know what those are, or should we be doing those? You wanna do a new prompt, or you wanna keep going with this prompt?
Well, let's start it clean.
Let's start it clean.
Let's start it clean so it doesn't feel tainted.
All right, here we go. You could have something like, should I be doing exit interviews, or what are exit interviews, something like that. There, perfect. Just so everybody knows, I hate these things. I think they're a waste of time. So let's see what chat says.
Well, I like their initial answer.
Okay.
It's not about closure. It's not about convincing somebody to stay. It's not about checking about. It is for pattern detection. Mm-hmm. If you have a lot of people leaving for the same reason, maybe they're saying that benefits is poor or any of those things, that can actually help you. Mm-hmm. A story, 5 data. Okay, I'm okay with this pattern recognition.
Okay. Do we see anything in them that is sort of indicative of if you're not having stay interviews? If you were having stay interviews, you actually wouldn't actually need exit interviews, because by the time an employee leaves, you already know why they're leaving because you've regularly engaged with them and heard what their concerns were all along.
So let's take a look. So we have, some good tips there. When exit interviewers are worth it, great. When they're not worth it, great.
Good.
What they're not good for, got it.
Wait a minute. What are they not good for?
Getting closure. Some of the same things that they've already said. Emotional closure, venting sessions.
Take note there. Getting someone to reverse their resignation. So this is where I get to be additionally spunky and say, for anyone who's listening, counter offers don't work. On average, that person will leave in the next 18 months anyway. Don't do it.
Yeah. Some good tips on how to do them. It's asking me a question, but to your point, here we go, Mindy.
Yeah?
Pair them with stay interviews.
There we go. Okay.
What this tells me I'm going to have to do, though, is what is a stay interview?
There you go.
Now, we know to ask that. We already know the answer.
In our own company, otherwise known as a bi-weekly recurring one-to-one. Those are our stay interviews.
We do stay interviews. We know what the answer is. We don't have to look this up. I think what a learn for anybody watching this is that if it's asking you these questions, you're going to have to do some research. I love this for somebody who's going down the rabbit hole and really wants to spend time doing this. Mm-hmm. I apologize for anyone that really just wants an answer and a quick, doesn't want to have to do all this reading. as
Well,
you kind
so
of mentioned earlier.
let's do a little like scenario here before we go. Let's say small business owner goes to office admin catch-all person and says, make exit interviews a reality around here. And the office admin person thinking is, I don't want to do another thing. I don't want that on my plate. One might think to prompt it to say, tell me how to talk my boss out of exit interviews.
What I will say is it's prompting out these answers. You're getting some good information. Great. I mean, we use ChatGPT for certain things, so we're not bashing ChatGPT today. We really are just trying to show where the value of having a person versus a system that you have to do all the work in, where that difference is. What I will say is that it's doesn't know and not talking about your culture.
Right.
You would have to spend some significant amount of time telling it about your culture, who you are, what you believe, what's your mission, what's your visions, what's your culture, what your challenges
all
are.
that stuff.
You would have to put some work into this to get it to answer in a manner that's actually going to align with the values of the company. That is something that maybe can be done with a lot of effort. It is something that a good partner, whether it's us or any other internal HR or other HR vendor, will know because they work with you, they have the relationship, and they know that. So the caveat here is how much work, again, do you want to do to teach it to have that tone and to have that focus on who you are as an organization, what your core values are, and how to easily pick apart what's appropriate and what's not appropriate for your organization based on the question. So how do I talk my boss out of exit interviews? Influencing, let's be clear.
Align the
You don't
goal.
want to say exit interviews are bad. Great.
Thinking of a typical small business owner, how do we win them over quickly? Let's see here. You could say something like, exit interviews give us insight. They tell us why somebody had already decided to leave. If our goal is there you go. If our goal is retention, we may want to get more leverage from proactive conversations. Meaning your managers aren't conducting one-to-ones, so don't expect my exit interviews to fix turnover. That's basically what that says.
Well, what it's not saying is, are you doing one-to-ones?
Yeah.
And that's...
And sometimes that's the same conversation as when's the last time you did a performance review.
Right.
Yeah.
No kidding, right?
Yeah.
Options you can propose.
What if we pilot exit interviews for 3 to 6 months to assess if they're worth it? That's what I'm reading there from.
If you have
number
enough
3.
turnover, you can get patterns. If you only lose one person every 3 to 6 months, that might not be useful.
Right.
I don't see the can you fix your communication problems via one-to-ones in here. So, again, I think what we're seeing is you can get some good information from AI. I caution anyone using AI that you don't know what you don't know. And your answers are only going to be as good as the questions that you ask and how deep you dive. I'm a little concerned about the facts that are often wrong, as we saw with the exemption answer when it thought Colorado follows the federal law.
Right.
It doesn't. It
Right.
exceeds it. When it comes to things like this, I think there's good material in here, but would you know to dig in?
Right.
And if you do...
we know what to ask.
Right.
That's what I worry about. It's like anything, garbage in, garbage out. I mean, it's the same as remember when the benefit brokers were offering HR 360 and they said, here, you have an HR department, it's HR 360. And VPs of finance and controllers and bookkeepers and office admins that just happened to process payroll suddenly were expected to know what they were supposed to ask HR 360 when it came to an employee asking for a disability accommodation. I don't even know without HR training how you go looking through a library like that to find the correct answer. So I'd say
Right.
same type of experience with AI and an untrained eye.
Yep. I'll also say here it's touching on some really good thoughts, like the pulse surveys and the limited pilot. But I think all of this also goes back to getting to the root of the problem. Why are you even asking? Why are you asking about exit interviews? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Are you asking it because somebody in your CEO group said we do exit interviews and you think, oh my God, I should be doing exit interviews?
Right.
Or are you
And that
asking...
happens a lot, by the way. That happens in CEO groups. One person that you know and respect is doing a thing, and then you feel less than or you're behind because you're not doing that thing. Yeah.
Right. Or are you asking because you're losing money or you have a retention problem? Or so like I said, I think there's some value to using AI to help you pull information and maybe organize your thoughts. I don't think ever that it replaces the creativity, the personalization, and the empathy.
And sometimes the judgment.
The empathy, the judgment, and the gray area. AI doesn't think in gray. It's giving you a lot of ideas, but it's not telling you, it's not walking the path of now you're dealing with humans.
Right.
So that's my cautionary tale. It can be a great tool. We use it, but it should not understand that if you're using it in lieu of having a professional, whether it's operations or tech or HR or any segment of your business, if you're using AI in lieu of those, you're going to miss a lot of things that matter because at the end of the day, your people are the asset that you're trying to nurture and cultivate. AI isn't a person, so you're gonna lose empathy. You're gonna lose judgment. You're gonna lose somebody who knows how to navigate the gray.
In fact, you know what? I'll close with, we have, as you know, we have a fractional chief operating officer. And we wanted to simplify and align our leader team job descriptions. AI helped us get the content on there, but as she said, it lost the inspiring HR brand and personality. So AI only got us part of the way there with content. We still had to go back and put our own cultural brand standard creative touch back onto these job descriptions. Otherwise, they weren't going to be a functional part of our people ops infrastructure that we were once again proud of because it was consistent visually and written messaging consistent with who we are as a company. So we're a far way away, I feel, from AI being to have the judgment to do those things, which is where you have to put the human element back into some of this. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much. Very helpful. You can stop sharing. Any closing thoughts?
No. If you do have questions, if you don't have an HR vendor or an HR person that's dedicated in your organization and you have been trying to use AI but find that you're spending so much time using the AI that you're not doing the other things that you do, whether it's inspiring HR or another vendor in your area, please take the time to look at getting support from a qualified HR resource and keep your organization on the up and up.
My closing thoughts are, we're not doing split screen again like this until I get my lighting right, because you look fabulous and I look like I'm in a dark cloud room at the moment. I'm sure I'm going to get reprimanded by the video guy for not having my lighting right today. This was I love spending time with you doing this stuff. I think we're going to be asked to do more of these, so stay tuned. But thank you so much for your time today. And
Anytime.
whoever watched this video, we appreciate your time and attention. Give us a call anytime if we can be helpful. First 45 minutes always free. Have a lovely evening.
Bye.
Bye.